So it's been a minute since I've covered anything Green Lantern on here, and if you know me players, you know I'm all about that green. Ever since Lanterns was announced last year when James Gunn presented Chapter 1 Gods and Monsters, I was excited that a show about Green Lanterns would be happening, but even more so now it would have a large probability of actually being made and not just floating around in the ether. At the time, it was said to be a terrestrial-based true detective type story with Lanterns, Hal Jordan, and John Stewart investigating a terrifying mystery that would tie into the larger DCU. And although that sounded cool then, I gotta be honest with you players, I've since learned I've made a grave miscalculation, because since then I am a changed man. How, you ask? Have I grown to become more altruistic? No, I will not donate $1 when ordering Panda Express, because then I would have $1 less. Duh. Have I gotten smarter? Well, when you reach the pinnacle of academia, there's really nothing more to learn. Have I gotten any taller? Fuck no. The big change I am referring to is that I have finally seen True Detective, all of the first season, which coincidentally happens to be the only season of the show. I have finished reading Green Lantern Earth 1, and so I have deduced that this show ain't just gonna be cool, it's gonna be fucking next level. In all seriousness, it took me a while to get onto the True Detective bandwagon, but after getting recommended the first season a couple different times, even by some of y'all, I knew I had to watch it, and I get the hype now, okay? Shit, I bought The King in Yellow. I read it all, and I'm still trying to understand it, and I am certainly going mad because of it, but that's how much I got into the show. It was such an enthralling experience, not just because the mystery of the Yellow King and the build up to his reveal, and this large, deep-rooted, evil, eldritch adjacent enclave of darkness, which was so expertly done in the show, but the charisma of the two leads, Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey. I've loved these guys since Semi-Pro and Tropic Thunder, so I don't know how I could have possibly slept on this show for as long as I did, but I could watch both of those guys just go back and forth all day. The drama surrounding not just their work lives, but personal lives was so engaging, and by the end of the season, the progression of their characters, especially Russ and his new perspective on life with his shift from nihilism to optimism, which was on real shit inspiring. So if they can emulate even a fraction of that like buddy cop dynamic with the show between Hal Jordan and John Stewart, and then weave an interesting and exciting enough crime mystery with some cosmic horror that is plaguing Earthlings, i.e. the King in Yellow, an ominous eldritch being in yellow garment known for instilling madness and fear, maybe Sinestro, but more so maybe Parallax, but done right of course this time, then it's gonna be a huge early dub for the DCU, one of many I'm sure. Another piece of media that this show looks to be pulling from is Green Lantern Earth 1. I say that a bit loosely just because I don't believe James Gunn has said anything about the show taking inspiration from the books concretely, but one would assume he's not constantly using this specific art for nothing, and again, I have no idea why I slept on this for so damn long. Maybe the universe knew I couldn't take any more pain. Seriously, I wish I knew what had happened to make it impossible to get a volume 3 or just more installations of this series, but it's written by Gabriel Hardman and Corina Bechko and art by both Hardman and Jordan Boyd. I love the gritty and weathered art style. Volume 1 is from March 2018, and then we didn't get a volume 2 until 2020. So I think this series could also be called Blue Lanterns Earth 2, since goddamn, this is some blue ballin' if I ever seen it. And then of course, we won't ever get a conclusion, but no matter, essentially volume 1 is Hal Jordan being like this astronaut excavator, and on a mission, he discovers a Green Lantern ring, which gets powered on and reactivates an old decrepit Manhunter. And so Dear Harold locks in and destroys it, but in doing so gets thrown across space, and Kilowog finds him, drops the Lantern lore on him and how their ranks were decimated by the Manhunters. Big Wog gives him a crash tutorial on how to use the ring, and they set out to find more answers, more lanterns, and hopefully restart the core. They end up parting ways eventually, and then Hal gets captured and enslaved on the Manhunter planet, and that's actually where they've been keeping the central Green Lantern battery, and Hal finds it, is able to get a charge, and is able to connect with all the remaining Green Lanterns in the universe, calls upon them, and they ignore the Big Head Guardian's suggested plan that would involve the Manhunter's slaves becoming casualties, and instead creates a blast that only kills the Manhunters. And by the and the core is on its way to becoming restored, and Hal is able to return to Earth with the tools to really help propel Earth into the future. Fast forward 2 years later, and Earth is venturing out to become intergalactically recognized by sharing Earth crops for alien tech with these aliens called the Larans, these like iguana mofos, but they get framed for attacking their ship, and now the Larans said fuck peace, fuck Earth, and dipped with the astronauts who would have brokered an alliance, one being John Stewart. After Hal finishes saving the rest of the individuals caught up in this ordeal, he travels to the Laran planet only to encounter for the first time, mind you, a Yellow Lantern, which happened to be substantially more powerful than the Green Lanterns. He then reaches out to the new Corps for help in managing the situation, but they are interrupted when they see all the remaining Manhunters have gathered together in one spot and take this opportunity to end things once and for all. But once they arrive, it turns out the Manhunters were made light work of by just a handful of the Yellow Lanterns, and that's when old Big Head Guardian comes through. He offers the Green Lantern the yellow power ring, but Hal doesn't trust him for suggesting such a callous plan from before that would have ended in a bunch of casualties. So the Green Lanterns all pretty much dip, but Sinestro and a group of other Lanterns fall back to take him up on his offer. On Laran Prime, the Earth hostages are freed by a Yellow Lantern that can no longer live with his guilt and gives them a rundown on how he met the Guardian and how the Guardian gave his people power rings to win their freedom back, and then asked them to follow him through this thing called the Rift, a dimensional rift that is, to fight the Manhunter. So they went to an entirely different universe. They were so grateful to this man, but he could no longer kill for the Guardian, so he gives them the power rings to escape, and that's when the cards are revealed and we find out that the Guardian was responsible for the whole Laran attack in the first place, and he sent a Yellow Lantern to fake the attack. But not only that, this conniving little blueberry made a deal with CENTCOM, the evil Earth organization in the story that started firing at Hal Jordan directly in front of a hospital, and also gave orders to shoot down Larans. Turns out they were in cahoots with the Guardian, and they did what the Guardian asked to discredit the Green Lantern Corps and propel the idea of Yellow Lanterns to Earth and a bunch of other smaller planets in hopes to establish his specific version of peace, that being the ultimate aim of the Guardian. And there is a rift that looks kind of like a void, and a reference to Nietzsche with the famous "Don't stare into the abyss" line. Great stories. I wish it got an ending, but beyond just the inspiration for this upcoming show, which is about as solid as you can get, right? We've recently got an update on the writers, and I'd say it's pretty stacked, okay? We got Damien Lindelof, the dude who created Lost, and among other things, Watchmen the series, as well Chris Mundy, who was an executive producer on Ozark, has an extensive history in crime, writing crime that is. Just kidding, I don't really blame him for what happened with Night Country, but essentially these are some very talented and experienced individuals, a cut above your average writers, I'd say, and to have them not only redeem these characters for their mistreatment in 2011, and then the blue balls we've been receiving with teases that never came to fruition is really truly cathartic. The Green Lanterns have such potential in live action, especially visually, and for that to be paired with competent writing is going to be such a treat. I think all the right people are involved to put the respect on the Lanterns' names finally. All in all, I'm very excited for the show and whoever will be the new Hal Jordan and John Stewart whenever we find out who those two will be. But let me know your thoughts, guys. Are you familiar with Lindelof and Mundy's work, and does that get you hyped, or are you seeing anything we should be worried about? And also, if you have any fan casts for John Stewart and Hal Jordan, I'm all ears. But that's pretty much it. If you liked the video, leave me a thumbs up, comment down below, and if you want, subscribe. I always appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope all of you guys are well, and I will see you in the next one.